Hello and welcome to the Royal Concert Hall in Glasgow. Tonight we're bringing you the opening concert to this year's Celtic Connections, a very special reimagining of Martin Bennett's groundbreaking album, Grit. Martin Bennett was an influential composer and musician born in Canada to a Scottish family. He was best known as a gifted piper who pioneered the meeting of traditional Scottish music with modern electronic sounds.
This is dance music and it's made in Scotland.
Grit was his fifth and final album. First released in 2003, it's an extraordinary piece of work. A truly unique creation uniting Scottish, Gaelic and traveller songs with dance music. Throughout most of his adult life, Martin battled with cancer. And as it became ever harder for him to play his instruments, he relied more on samples and synthesizers to create the album. Just 15 months after the release of Grit, Martin died at the age of 33. Given the nature of the album, this music has never been played live until now. Over the last year, Martin's friend and fellow musician Greg Lawson has arranged the music so that it can finally be played on stage before an audience, a decade on since Martin's death.
If you want to celebrate someone's existence, you have to put aside your sadness, and you have to do things that honour them in a happy way.
Are you going to do that? What? Yeah.
It seems like 10 years is the time. It has to happen now. If it doesn't happen now, it's never going to happen. The orchestra is made up of classical musicians and jazz musicians and folk musicians. It's a very unusual thing to try and get everyone to come together into a group like that.
And to make this task even harder for Greg, the first time these guys could all get together was the day before the concert.
6 hours rehearsal. It's like an idea so full of risks, it almost felt irresponsible to try.
To help him achieve his goal, Greg has also enlisted some of Scotland's finest traditional singers to tackle the songs on the album.
It's a huge honour to be asked to do it. Last night and today we've been in the rehearsals and just seeing it all coming together and watching people's faces who maybe wouldn't normally play this kind of music. It's quite amazing how it's touching every person. It definitely is in some kind of way.
We all knew Martin in various guises. It was just, such a tragedy. We were all inspired by his music. The fact that the concert sold out months ago is testimony to just the respect that he's held.
It's a really personal journey for everybody involved in playing this music tonight. What does it mean to you?
In some ways it means I can let him go. I can say goodbye, Everyone needs to say goodbye. All the time through this, I kept on kind of wondering, what would he think of this? I think he'd be chuffed. I hope he'd be chuffed, I have to hope he'd be chuffed.
And now, as a tribute to the late Martin Bennett, and performing live for the first time, Grit Orchestra, conducted by Greg Lawson.
chanter. You play the melody on the 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 chanter.
bide with my granny nae mair. I'll no bide with my granny nae mair. She scalps my face and she pulls all my hair. And I'll no bide with my granny nae mair. I'll wa him to my mother, I will. I'll wa him to my mother, I will. She keeps a wee shop at the top of the hill, and she sells a wee drappie at 6pence a jowl. When my granny named Mare, I'll no bide when my granny named Mare. She scalps my face and she pulls all my hair, and I'll no bide when my granny named Mare. I'll hit my mother. Drappie at 6pence a jowl.
The voice of rejoicing and salvation is in the tabernacle of the righteous. The right hand of the Lord doeth valiantly. The right hand of the Lord is exalted. I shall not die, but live and declare the works of the Lord. The Lord hath chastened me sore, but he hath not given me over unto death. Open to me the gates of righteousness. I will go into them. I will go into them, and I will praise the Lord. This is the gate of the Lord, into which the righteous shall enter. I will praise thee, for thou hast heard me and art become my salvation. The stone which the builders refused has become the headstone of the corner. This is the Lord's doing. It is marvelous in our eyes. open to me the gates of righteousness, I will go into them. Liberation. Liberation. This is the Lord's doing. It is marvelous in our eyes.
Here was the home that knew plenty of shouting and happiness and trouble. And now as I look inside those walls, peer back memories of the past. How will I survive? Why? Why? I can't get anybody to give me an answer. anybody give me an answer?
No. It's into our ears we barely did go, and we never did rise to the cock it did crow. And it's glass after glass we merely did toast to the bonny wee lassie who never said no. Smile. She lifted a chair with freedom and there. Here is health to the lass who can jig it in style. Oh, bring some liquor, the lass, she cried, to cheer up his spirits and do they are low. And it's not what you'll do, bring a bottle or tway to the bonny wee lassie who never said no. imagine me being myself and sober to be. And it's glass after glass, they merrily did toss to the lass, and the landlady filled themselves full. Look into my pocket, the lassie, she said, you are 2 and 6 to pay for your bed. And for laying me down, you owe me a crown. Look into my pocket, the lassie, she said. I put my hand in her pocket and £5 I took. Says I to myself, I will bundle and go. And I bade her goodbye, but she made no reply. The bonny wee lassie who never said no.
Say one and Lee, say run and Lee went to. He played a tune and he danced around below the ghost. Say run and Lee, say one and Lee, and say run and Lee went to. He played a tune and he danced around below the gallows.
last two numbers. There was a track that never made it onto the album Grit, called Paisley Spin. And it's a beautiful track. And we're going to do that last. We're going to do Storyteller first, with David here. When we finish Storyteller and we go into Paisley Spin, you will be expected to sing. All right? Just so you know. And everyone is going to sing. All right?
Well, there was once upon a time, there was a king and his wife, and she died and they left a daughter. So the king remarried, and this king, when he remarried, the stepmother took a hating to this girl. Say she was gone one day for a pitcher of water and she let the pitcher fall. So she put the blame on the daughter. So she says to her stepmother, she says, look, she says, for God's sake, she says, leave me alone. So the girl sets away. Her father drove her out. She had nowhere to go. She was just left alone. So she says to herself, she says, I must go away. So she married this great fella and he was called up to the army. And when he was called up to the army, she was left in childbirth. So she wasn't able and nowhere to stay. She had nowhere to stay at all. So she was just on her own. So her bairn was born a young son. So her father come up to her. She says, look, she says, you drove me out, she says, father, she says. And she says, look, she says, you understand what I mean, she says. I wouldn't like you for to come on the same grounds as where I'm walking. He says, look, he says, daughter, Doris. He says, do you see that sword, he says. Yes, she says, father. Well, he says, I'm cutting off your arm. So he takes this sword and he cuts off her arm. Is that sore, he says, daughter Doris? Oh, yes, father, she says, very. He says, look, he says, when you're walking on the road, he says, with your child in your arms, how can I walk, she says, father, she says, when I've no arms to carry my child and I'm bleeding to death? He says, look, he says, do you see that sword, daughter Doris, he says, I'd cut off your two arms. And he says, do you see that sword? I'm cutting off your two legs. He says, so he cuts off her right leg. He says, is that sore, he says, daughter Doris? Oh, she says, father, very sore. Father, very, she says. So he takes the sword again, he says, well, this is the last one, he says, and then the last sweep. He says, and I'm going to give you, he says, is your left leg away. And he says, I'll leave nothing, he says, but the trunk of the body. So he takes the sword and he sweeps the legs off her, the left leg. Is that sore, Dr. Doris? Oh, father, she says, very. But your child, he says, is a wee son. Yes, she says, father, he's a wee son. And she says, he's going to be a great hero, she says. She says, I'm lying here day and I'm bleeding to death, she says, and she says, this day, she says, above any other day, she says, I'm not able to carry my child, she says. Well, he says, look, he says, I'm taking the sword, he says, and I'm cutting off your breasts, he says, so your child will die. He says, look, he says, there's the sword, he says, and I'm cutting off your breasts. So he takes the sword and he cuts off her 2 breasts. He says, daughter Doris, he says, is that sore? Oh, yes, she says, Father, very sore. It's no sorer to you, he says, than the day you broke my milk pitcher. Well, she says, my young son, she says, I'll be a hero someday, and she says, and another thing, afore you go on your horse's back, I hope to God there's a thorn, a black thorn, she says, will go in your foot, she says, and there's no another doctor, she says, or professors in the country I'll ever take that out except my son. And she says, cheerio. So she's trying to carry her wee baby in her teeth, trying to carry it, and she got up to an orchard with it rolling on her side and pulling it in God's torture. So she lands at this orchard, and she's taken a bite of apple, and she's trying to chew it and put it in the wee baby's mouth, and she's blooding to death, just the last gasp, when this old man with a white beard comes up. He says, look, he says, daughter Doris, he says, lift your child. Oh, she says, I can't lift my child, she says. I've nae arms. Try it, he says. Have a go. Just try it. She says, how can I? He says, try, he says. Just there's your baby lying there, he says. Just lift it up. So she tries, and her 2 arms come back the same way. Try, he says, and walk. How can I walk, she says, when I've nae legs to walk on? Try it, he says. So she tries to walk. She's walking up, and then she's got her wee baby in his arms, and she's gone up and down with it. He says, give your baby a feed. How can I? My breast was cut away, she says. She says, look, how can I do it? Just have a trial, he says. Just have a wee trial. So she lifts her baby up, and she tries her breast to it, come back just the same. So she went out on the road again and thanked the old man very much, thanked him 1,000 times, and she walked on the road. And she meets this young chap, a very young, handsome young man, and she gets married to him. So they get settled down. Now, there was a great placard up in every show. It's posted in every telegraph pole. Well, maybe in these days I don't think there'd be telephones, but there'd be in trees and that. There's a king dying. Anybody can save his soul, the aid in my wealth. So she looks at it, she says, there's only one man, she says, and that's my wee baby, she says, I'll cure that. So she goes up to her father in the bed. She says, Father, she says, do you remember cutting off my legs? Daughter, he says, I remember it, he says, I thought you were dead. He says, have you got 2 wooden legs? No, she says, Father, she says, that young man is my husband there, she says, and that other young man is my son, and he's only about 13 or 14 years of age, she says. And she says, look, she says, there's only one man who'll cure that, and that is my young son. And she says, there's only one thing you'll take it out with. And she says, that's the point of your sword, which she cut my legs off with. So the young fella stops her. He says, look, he says, it's my own flesh and blood, he says, and I'll take the sword. So he cuts the leg off, and he flings it in the bin. So the old man is lying in agony. Get me a frog, says the young hero. I'll take a frog, he says, and leave it in the bed, he says, for 24 hours along with my grandfather, he says. In the morning, he says, his foot will come back natural. Very good. So they went and got a frog and they put it in the bed. So it licked his foot or that. Anyway, I don't know how it happened. So anyway, this young hero is just waiting on the word to see if he'd die or live. So the king looks, the old king himself, he says, look, he says, you've saved my life, he says, and I'll take your place, he says, and you can take mine. So I don't know very much more about it.
I say goodbye, farewell, adieu to each and every one of you. I say goodbye, farewell, adieu to each and every one of you. I say goodbye, farewell, adieu to each and every one of you. I say goodbye, farewell, adieu to each and every one of you. I say goodbye, farewell, adieu to each and every one of you. I say goodbye, farewell, adieu to each and every one of you. I say goodbye, farewell, adieu to each and every one of you. I say goodbye, farewell, adieu to each and every one of you. I say goodbye, farewell, adieu to each and every one of you. I say goodbye, farewell, adieu to each and every one of you. I say goodbye, farewell, adieu to each and every one of you. I say goodbye, farewell,
You play the melody on the chanter. You play the melody on the chanter. You play the melody on the chanter. the melody on the charter. Play the melody on the charter. Play the melody on the charter. Do you want another one? Hey.
To each and